Have you ever felt like you're playing a game where everyone else knows the rules, but you're just stumbling around, hoping for the best? Like you're constantly reacting to situations instead of proactively shaping them? Maybe you see others effortlessly navigating challenges, achieving their goals with what seems like uncanny precision, while you're left wondering what their secret is. It's a frustrating feeling, that sense of being perpetually one step behind, always in damage control instead of strategic advancement. This feeling isn't unique. It's a common thread woven through the fabric of human experience, particularly in our increasingly complex world. Whether it's in your career, your relationships, or even your personal aspirations, the feeling of being outmaneuvered can be deeply disheartening. The truth is, life often presents itself as a series of power dynamics, subtle negotiations, and strategic plays. We're constantly interacting with others, each with their own agendas, motivations, and perspectives. And while we're often taught to value honesty, integrity, and collaboration, sometimes it feels like those virtues are being exploited, that others are taking advantage of our good nature. This can leave us feeling vulnerable, resentful, and ultimately, powerless. We yearn for a framework, a set of principles that can help us not only understand these dynamics, but also navigate them with confidence and achieve our own goals without compromising our values. Perhaps you've heard of Niccolò Machiavelli, the 16th century Italian diplomat and philosopher. His name is often synonymous with cunning, manipulation, and even ruthlessness. Machiavellian is a label often applied to those seen as ambitious, calculating, and willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead. But what if there's more to Machiavelli than this simplistic caricature? What if his writings, particularly The Prince, offer a valuable, albeit often misunderstood, framework for understanding power dynamics and achieving success in a complex world? We're not suggesting that you abandon your moral compass or embrace a life of deceit. Far from it. Our aim is to dissect Machiavelli's core principles, adaptability, foresight, and calculated risk, and translate them into practical life lessons that can empower you to navigate your daily struggles with newfound clarity and precision. We'll explore how understanding power dynamics, mastering communication, and developing a strategic mindset can help you turn obstacles into opportunities, not by exploiting others, but by understanding the game and playing it skillfully. This journey isn't about becoming a ruthless manipulator. It's about becoming a more strategic and empowered version of yourself. It's about understanding the underlying forces at play in your life and learning how to harness them to achieve your goals while remaining true to your values. It's about moving from a reactive stance to a proactive one, from feeling like a pawn in someone else's game to becoming a player who understands the rules and knows how to navigate the board. We'll delve into the ethical considerations, emphasizing the responsible application of these principles to build a fulfilling and impactful life, not at the expense of others, but through calculated empowerment and strategic advantage. Consider this an invitation to unlock your potential and navigate life's challenges with newfound confidence and precision, armed with a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Let's delve into the misconceptions that often shroud Machiavelli's teachings. Frequently, his work is misinterpreted as a manual for pure, unadulterated self-interest, a guide to stepping on others to reach the top. This, however, is a gross oversimplification. The true essence of Machiavellian thought lies not in malevolence, but in a clear-eyed assessment of reality, an understanding of human nature, and the strategic application of power to achieve desired outcomes. It's about recognizing that the world isn't always fair, that people aren't always honest, and that naivete can be a significant disadvantage. Consider, for example, the common scenario of workplace politics. You might witness a colleague taking credit for your ideas or subtly undermining your efforts to advance their own career. A purely idealistic approach might involve confronting them directly, appealing to their sense of fairness and expecting them to change their behavior. However, this approach often proves ineffective as it fails to acknowledge the underlying power dynamics at play. A Machiavellian perspective, on the other hand, encourages you to understand your colleagues' motivations, assess their strengths and weaknesses, and develop a strategy to protect yourself and your ideas. This might involve building alliances with other colleagues, documenting your contributions meticulously, or subtly influencing your colleagues' behavior through carefully crafted communication. Another misunderstanding stems from the belief that Machiavellianism is solely about achieving personal gain, regardless of the consequences. This ignores the fact that Machiavelli's primary concern was the stability and prosperity of the state. He argued that a ruler should be willing to act in ways that might be considered immoral in a private context if it served the greater good of the realm. In a modern context, this might translate to making difficult decisions that benefit the organization as a whole, even if they are unpopular or negatively impact certain individuals. Think of a CEO who has to lay off employees to save a company from bankruptcy. While the decision is undoubtedly painful, it might be necessary to ensure the long-term survival of the business and the jobs of the remaining employees. Furthermore, it's crucial to distinguish between strategic action and outright manipulation. Machiavelli advocated for being adaptable, resourceful, and willing to use deception when necessary, but he also emphasized the importance of maintaining a reputation for integrity and fairness. A leader who is constantly lying and manipulating others will eventually lose their trust and respect, making it difficult to achieve their goals in the long run. Instead, a truly Machiavellian leader understands the power of perception and strives to cultivate an image that is both strong and trustworthy. Now, take into account a politician known for their honesty and integrity, who occasionally makes a strategic compromise to achieve a larger legislative victory. This isn't necessarily manipulative. It's a calculated decision to advance their agenda while maintaining their overall credibility. Moreover, Machiavelli's emphasis on foresight is often overlooked. He argued that a ruler should anticipate potential problems and take steps to prevent them before they arise. This requires careful observation, critical thinking, and a willingness to challenge conventional wisdom. In your personal life, this might involve anticipating potential conflicts in your relationships and taking steps to address them proactively. For example, if you know that a certain topic is likely to trigger an argument with your partner, you might choose to avoid discussing it or find a way to approach it in a more constructive manner. Consequently, understanding Machiavelli isn't about embracing a cynical worldview or abandoning your values. It's about developing a more nuanced understanding of human behavior, recognizing the complexities of power dynamics, and learning how to navigate the world with greater awareness and strategic acumen. It's about becoming a more effective leader, a more persuasive communicator, and a more resilient individual. Now, let's turn inward and examine how these principles can be brought to bear on your own circumstances. It's one thing to intellectually grasp the nuances of strategic thought. It's quite another to recognize its fingerprints in your daily life. Spend a moment reflecting on a recent challenge you faced, perhaps a disagreement with a family member, a setback at work, or a personal goal you're struggling to achieve. Instead of simply replaying the events in your mind, try to analyze them through a Machiavellian lens. What were the power dynamics at play? Who held the leverage, and why? What were the unspoken motivations driving the actions of those involved? Consider, for instance, a scenario where you feel consistently overlooked for promotions at work. A surface-level analysis might lead you to conclude that your hard work simply isn't being recognized. However, a deeper, more strategic examination might reveal a different story. Perhaps there's a subtle bias at play within your department, favoring individuals with a particular background or skill set. Or maybe you're not effectively communicating your accomplishments to the right people, allowing others to take credit for your contributions. Acknowledging these underlying dynamics is the first step toward developing a proactive strategy to address them. Another crucial layer is understanding your own internal landscape. What are your inherent strengths and weaknesses? What are your core values and beliefs? What are your deepest fears and insecurities? Self-awareness is the bedrock of strategic action. Without a clear understanding of yourself, you're vulnerable to manipulation and prone to making impulsive decisions that undermine your long-term goals. Imagine a skilled poker player who knows their own tells, those subtle, unconscious behaviors that betray their hand to their opponents. By recognizing and controlling these tells, they can maintain a poker face and avoid giving away valuable information. Similarly, by understanding your own emotional triggers and cognitive biases, you can make more rational and strategic decisions in high-pressure situations. To illustrate, think about a time when you reacted strongly to criticism. Did you become defensive, shut down, or lash out in anger? These reactions are often driven by underlying insecurities or a fear of failure. By acknowledging these vulnerabilities, you can begin to develop strategies for managing your emotions and responding to criticism in a more constructive manner. This might involve practicing mindfulness techniques to stay grounded in the present moment, reframing negative thoughts into more positive ones, or seeking feedback from trusted sources to gain a more objective perspective. Contrarily, it's equally important to assess your strengths realistically. Are you a gifted communicator, a natural leader, or a skilled problem solver? Identifying your unique talents allows you to leverage them strategically to achieve your goals. Perhaps you're particularly adept at building relationships. You could use this skill to cultivate alliances with key stakeholders, influence decision-making processes, or negotiate favorable outcomes. The key is to understand your own capabilities and find ways to apply them strategically in different contexts. In similar vein, reflect on past successes and failures. What patterns emerge? What strategies worked well? And which ones backfired? What lessons can you learn from these experiences? By analyzing your past actions, you can gain valuable insights into your own decision-making processes and identify areas for improvement. This isn't about dwelling on past mistakes. It's about using them as stepping stones to future success. Consequently, this process of self-reflection should be an ongoing practice, a continuous cycle of observation, analysis, and adaptation. The more you understand yourself and the world around you, the better equipped you'll be to navigate life's challenges with confidence and strategic precision. Armed with self-awareness and a keen understanding of the playing field, you can now start assembling a toolkit of practical strategies. One highly effective tactic involves cultivating a robust network of allies and advocates. These individuals can serve as your eyes and ears, providing valuable information, offering support, and championing your cause when you're not even in the room. Consider your current circle of acquaintances. Are there individuals who consistently demonstrate integrity, competence, and a willingness to help others? Invest time in nurturing these relationships, offering your own assistance and support in return. Building genuine connections is far more effective than superficial networking. People are more likely to go the extra mile for someone they trust and respect. For instance, imagine you're seeking a promotion to a new department. Instead of solely relying on your formal application and interview, proactively reach out to individuals who already work in that department. Schedule informational interviews to learn more about their roles, the team dynamics, and the key challenges they face. Use these conversations to subtly showcase your skills and experience, demonstrating how you could contribute to their success. These informal connections can provide invaluable insights and create internal advocates who can vouch for your capabilities to the hiring manager. Another instrumental technique centers on mastering the art of persuasive communication. This extends far beyond simply articulating your ideas clearly. It involves understanding your audience's needs, tailoring your message to resonate with their values, and framing your arguments in a way that is both compelling and logical. Now, consider how this applies when you face resistance to a new initiative you're proposing at work. Instead of simply presenting your idea as a fait accompli, take the time to understand the concerns of your colleagues and superiors. Acknowledge their potential objections and address them proactively in your presentation. Use data and evidence to support your claims, and frame your proposal in a way that highlights the benefits for everyone involved. In a similar vein, embrace the power of calculated risk-taking. Playing it safe may provide a sense of security, but it rarely leads to significant breakthroughs. Machiavelli argued that a leader must be willing to take calculated risks, weighing the potential rewards against the potential costs and acting decisively when the opportunity arises. This doesn't mean being reckless or impulsive. It means assessing the situation carefully, identifying the potential downsides, and developing a contingency plan to mitigate those risks. To illustrate, take the scenario where you're contemplating starting your own business. The prospect of leaving a stable job and investing your savings in a new venture can be daunting. However, if you've done your homework, researched the market, developed a solid business plan, and identified a clear path to profitability, the potential rewards may outweigh the risks. By taking a calculated leap of faith, you could achieve financial independence, pursue your passion, and create something of lasting value. Moreover, Cultivate a mindset of continuous learning and adaptation. The world is constantly changing, and the strategies that worked yesterday may not be effective today. Stay abreast of the latest trends in your industry, seek out new knowledge and skills, and be willing to adapt your approach as circumstances evolve. Attend industry conferences, read relevant publications, and network with other professionals to stay ahead of the curve. By embracing a growth mindset, you can remain agile and resilient in the face of change. Reflecting on this journey so far, we perceive a unifying principle emerging, less a rigid doctrine and more a flexible framework for navigating the labyrinthine complexities of life. It is not about adopting a pre-packaged persona, but about cultivating a heightened awareness, a strategic sensibility that permeates every interaction, every decision. The accumulation of these insights begins to resemble a finely tuned instrument, capable of discerning subtle nuances and responding with calibrated precision. Consider it akin to learning a complex musical composition. Initially, one grapples with individual notes and phrases, struggling to master the technical aspects. However, with diligent practice and a deeper understanding of the composer's intent, the individual elements coalesce into a harmonious whole, a seamless expression of artistic vision. Similarly, the strategic principles we've explored are not isolated tactics, but interconnected components of a comprehensive approach to life. The true power lies not in the individual tools themselves, but in the synergistic effect they create when applied in concert. It's the difference between possessing a collection of woodworking tools and possessing the skill to craft a masterpiece. The tools are essential, but they are merely instruments in the hands of a skilled artisan. The artisan's vision, their understanding of the materials, and their ability to execute their craft with precision are what ultimately determine the quality of the finished product. Drawing these strands together, we see a shift in perspective, a move away from reactive responses and towards proactive creation. The world ceases to be a series of random events and becomes a landscape ripe with opportunities, waiting to be shaped by strategic intent. This isn't about imposing one's will upon others, but about understanding the underlying currents and navigating them with grace and purpose. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, not as a predetermined route, but as a series of informed choices. Each decision, each interaction, becomes an opportunity to exercise strategic acumen, to refine one's understanding of the game, and to move closer to one's goals. It's a continuous process of learning, adapting, and evolving, a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative impact of these principles on your own life. How might a more strategic approach transform your relationships, your career, your personal aspirations? What possibilities might unfold if you approached each challenge with a heightened sense of awareness, a clear understanding of the dynamics at play, and a willingness to take calculated risks? The answer, of course, lies not in embracing a cynical worldview or abandoning your values, but in cultivating a more nuanced understanding of human nature, recognizing the complexities of power dynamics, and learning how to navigate the world with greater awareness and strategic acumen. It's about becoming a more effective leader, a more persuasive communicator, and a more resilient individual. As we reach the culmination of this exploration, let's not mistake understanding for mastery. The chessboard, meticulously analyzed, the pieces strategically positioned in our minds, remains inert until the hand moves. It's tempting to believe that intellectual comprehension alone guarantees success, but the true alchemy lies in translating insight into action, theory into lived experience. The principles we've discussed are not meant to be passively absorbed, but actively embodied, woven into the fabric of our daily interactions and decisions. Think of it as learning to dance. You can study the steps, understand the rhythm, and visualize the movements with perfect clarity. But until you actually step onto the dance floor, feel the music in your bones, and allow your body to move in sync with the melody, you remain a spectator, not a participant. Similarly, the strategic principles we've examined are only as valuable as our willingness to put them into practice, to experiment with different approaches, and to learn from our successes and failures. The path of strategic living is not a linear progression, but a continuous cycle of learning, adapting, and refining. It's a journey of self-discovery, a process of uncovering our hidden strengths, confronting our deepest fears, and ultimately becoming the architects of our own destinies. There will be moments of doubt, setbacks that challenge our resolve, and temptations to revert to old patterns of behavior. But it is in these moments of adversity that our strategic muscle is truly tested, that our commitment to growth is truly measured. And so, as we conclude this exploration, let us not simply close the book and move on. Let us instead carry these insights with us, allowing them to inform our actions, shape our decisions, and guide us towards a more fulfilling and impactful life. The chessboard awaits. The pieces are in place. The true practice begins now, not as a rigid adherence to prescribed rules, but as a fluid and intuitive expression of strategic awareness, a dance of intention and action that unfolds with each passing moment. Embrace the challenge, embrace the uncertainty, and above all, embrace the power within you to shape your own destiny. Let wisdom guide you,